Anthony, could you introduce yourself, please?
Sure, Dr. Davidson. I'm Anthony Duke. I'm a psychiatrist trained at Loma Linda University. I've been a staff psychiatrist with a Southern California group called Inland Psychiatric Medical Group. And I've trained and worked at the VA at Loma Linda University, and also worked in various areas around the prison systems for California Department of Corrections, but now mostly all private practice.
For a population group who would describe themselves as having unwanted same-sex attractions, what are the most important things from your point of view when working with this group?
It's important to remember that in this population of people who have unwanted same-sex attraction, that they be given the opportunity to have someone who knows what they're going through and has the latest in psychological training to offer them the ability to understand why they feel and act the way they do, and to validate that their understanding of homosexuality, and that they're wanting to live a life that's more consistent with their belief system is validated, and that they're provided the opportunity to know how to overcome these parenting issues and traumas and childhood developmental delays that have led them to be the way they are, and how they can overcome those.
What do you say to those critics who would be concerned that we shame people by offering them some kind of treatment as though there was something unhealthy about them?
I think the underpinnings of medicine and psychology have been lost, and knowing what the term normal means leads many people to have these different divergent views of what we should be doing for these kind of patients. And if these critics who think that we're shaming people into believing that there's something unhealthy about homosexuality, if they were to have the same views of what people are all about and what humanity is, the purpose of humanity, they would have a different understanding that what we're providing them is a chance to fulfill their need to live what they believe is their purpose in life. And so this idea that they have that we're shaming them is, I think, very much misconstrued and very divergent from what the real issue is.
Can you say something about the different outcomes that I would imagine would be likely for any client who seeks to move away from same-sex attractions?
As in any patient that seeks psychotherapy or counseling, there's going to be a portion of patients who don't get better. They're the ones who either have ambiguous or vacillating motivations, or they're just geared socially from their peers or the pressures to not follow up on the different homework and ways of restructuring their thoughts, and thus they don't get better, and they remain in their homosexual state, and they continue with this cognitive dissonance where they feel very distraught for their lives. Then there are some who attach to some of the ideas that we teach them and help to decrease their stress, and these are the ones who learn from the different ideas that Dr. Nicolosi, for example, pioneered, and help to overcome the different shame and guilt and self-perceptions that lead them to be the kind of people that they are, and they work over them, and they find new ways to live, and they either stabilize in their symptoms, or they decrease the amount of stress that they're causing themselves. And then there's a small portion that we would see as great successes, and they become great people because they're able to overcome a lot of the issues that they have, and they overcome their homosexual attraction and their negative thoughts, and they're able to find new ways to live heterosexually.
Dr. Duke, what would you say is the main contribution of Dr. Joseph Nicolosi to this field?
By far and away, I think Dr. Nicolosi's contribution is he regrounded psychology into the views that we have the ability to know what is normal, what is healthy sexuality, and we can overcome and help people know why they feel and act the way they do. And we can help them overcome those issues. That's the greatest thing he did.
In your estimation, what do you think his strengths were as a researcher, as a clinical psychologist, and as a man who is busy in this particular area?
I think in the 20 years that I have known about him, it's his courage, his ability to overcome huge amounts of social pressure and be the lone voice that says a very different view that is very much lost because people follow their feelings and the social fads of the world, and they integrate that into what they think is science, but it's not. And he was able to ground that back to understanding that we have biological and social determinants that lead us to be the way that we are, and we can change things with our will. And he gave us lots of evidence and supported lots of research that enabled that to happen.
I'm assuming that you would be familiar with his writings. What would you say in terms of what he has given us?
Prevention. He's helped us to understand how parents can help their children understand roles in society and in their own morality that can help prevent a lot of problems in the future and a lot of heartache, and reground families, the definition of families, and thus he's one of the most important things that has stabilized, I believe, society.
What do you believe the legacy of Dr. Nicolosi's work will be?
So many things to say. I mean, I think Dr. Nicolosi will be remembered, at least from my standpoint, as a role model of one who is willing to go that far mile for the patients and help them to understand that there are people who understand what they're going through and that they can help them overcome unwanted same-sex attraction and be consistent with their values and not have to be pressured into what society is trying to push them down towards, which leads to many medical, psychological problems.
Could you say something about your reaction when you heard the news?
I was very saddened. I immediately called my office manager and cleared my entire schedule to make sure I could be here for his family and his colleagues in order to help make sure that we had a chance to express our sincerest condolences and our appreciation for his life. I remember hearing about him for the first time in psychiatric residency and just being astounded and in awe of what one person can do and his courage in living out his understanding of what truth is and trying to fight against a lot of the negative things in society which have just deemed many, many people to a life and existence that they don't have to exist in.
You obviously knew Joseph Nicolosi, not only as a colleague, but as a man. What endures for you now that he's passed away? I
think his charisma. He was a very outspoken and friendly man, and he was very courageous. Again, that word just keeps coming back because I remember the first time I saw him, I mentioned, one of these days, Joseph, you're going to be canonized as the patron saint for human sexuality. Because you're just doing great work and people don't appreciate you, but like most famous individuals, his legacy will live far beyond his life. And I think we'll look back and work off of his work and do great things in remembrance of him.
Dr. Duke, it seems to me that often people who come for counseling or help, professional help in this area, often do so with the perspective of a faith worldview. How do you respond to their concern on that level?
I wholeheartedly encourage them to live out their faith. And as a mental health professional, I'm just blessed because God gave me an opportunity to be able to be in this field, I think, to help out those who are looking for not just prayer and spirituality, but more grounded Ericksonian theory, psychodynamics, family issues, interpersonal skills, secondary masculine trait development, all these other things that psychology brings to the field of faith. And as the concept of uniformity of truth comes in, John Carter and Bruce Nairmore in their seminal works for the Christian integration, we have the opportunity in psychology to bring science into Christianity and faith and help people to understand how we can help them to live out those ideas in the Bible, in the Judeo-Christian faith system, in the Catechism of the Catholic Church, about how men and women should be. And that is the crux of the definition of, I believe, normal. It's what God wanted for us. And if God wanted us to be certain ways, understanding how to do so and training people to see and live in different ways to help them get to that point is what we do in psychiatry and psychology. And I think those with the faith perspective of a Judeo-Christian, Orthodox, traditional, conservative view need to have that outlet offered to them, because it is vital to them, for them, to live out that faith and know how to do so with the current update science and research that we have.
What do you say about the accusation that work that's done in this area is really just the outcome of a misunderstanding of a particular faith point of view?
I think the particular faith point of view that's now being propounded by both APAs and social workers and counselors is secular humanism. And that is at its core the most insidious viewpoint of religious perspective, which is not considered so, but yet is the one that's causing so many problems. The breakdown of families, the breakdown of the traditional roles of men and women, and society will begin, as it already has, reap the consequences. And it's horrible on the individual lives that it's going to affect. And I think we are the solution. We offer people a different way of seeing things that is conservative, that is based in the Bible and faith, Judeo-Christian beliefs. And I think they're the ones who are labeling us as such. They're the ones who are causing many of the issues that we see in this world.
Those who are critical of a conservative perception of working with those with same-sex attraction say that we are old-fashioned, unscientific, and do not have a sound understanding of the issue. What's your response?
I think we are old-fashioned, but we're very scientific and we're very sound in our thinking. And if anything, the unproven fads that they bring into science are the ones that are causing all the issues we have. So I think we are responding to that issue by pushing back and offering people what has helped for the centuries of existence that humans have lived.
Is there anything you want to say about the field or about Dr. Nicolosi's work specifically before we go?
I can honestly say that I would have died for Dr. Nicolosi. I think his work is so important, and I wish he had been around longer to help us continue more work. And now, if anything, it's just led me to reevaluate my own priorities and try to see if I can do more with all the other stuff that I'm already doing in life. I think his work is very, very important because the family, the individual, is the foundation for all of society. And he, if anyone in this entire world, did more to stabilize that. And I want to continue that. I do it every day in my work, in Bible studies and church work and teaching martial arts to the church kids and gun training with them. We're going to have a lot of work cut out for us with his loss. And I think politically and scientifically and socially, he was right on target with what he was doing.
Dr. Anthony Dew, thank you for your time today.
Thank you for all you do.